Okay, welcome to another Miracle Monday, where Mom and I have conversations, real life conversations that we have all the time, and we're coming on to share them with you in the hopes that it inspires you in some way to, I don't know, live your best life. And I'm going to say right out of the gate, I am not my usual thriving self, and uh, so I probably need this call as much as anybody who might be listening today. So, hi.
And hi.
So we were talking about what to chat about today, and I'm running a little bit on empty, like not feeling as creative and whatever. So the truth is I have stuff going on in my life right now, which again, like who doesn't, right? I mean, it's not like that's something unique and special. I think that everybody is facing something most often. There's something going on. And so, what I thought it would be helpful to talk about is relationships and how relationships, how they impact us, how they can change over time, when to know sort of when to let go, when to hold on. Like it's just kind of a messy thing in my mind right now. And, um, And so I wondered if my mummy has any wise words of advice, seeing as we're here because you're the rock star who lives your life so beautifully. Help me, Mom.
Mummy.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I stopped myself. Help me, Mummy. I need my mummy. So, I mean, I don't want to specifically I mean, we can, but not really. I don't want to specifically dive into, what like the details of
Yeah.
my challenge. Um, But I mean, I've had it more than once in my life. It's not like, this one is a business relationship where there's
Mhm.
lots of different people involved and a lot of things to consider. It's not like I can just, say, screw it, I'm done without that having massive impacts on a lot of different people. So, you know, other times it would have been like my marriage and Steve and there's been lots of different times in my life where relationships have shifted and people have maybe shown their true colors in a different way or their true colors change. Actually, that's like part of it. I don't even know if it's showing true colors or if it's that people change. Um, and I know you've had relationships that have changed over
Mhm.
time and that have been beautiful and then not or whatever. So do you have anything to share? Can you?
Gosh. I mean, I don't even know that I have anything to share because,
I know
um,
you do. You really do.
yeah, I mean, I think it's challenging. I think that when we connect with somebody and, start a relationship and it feels like a really good relationship, I don't think it's easy to then view it out of any other lens. I think it takes a lot for us to see the change or, to see things that maybe it didn't matter that we even saw them before because they didn't affect our life. But then once they affect our life, then that's very different. So, yeah, so I don't think it's an easy thing. I think it's kind of cyclical in a way. And one thing that I feel I've noticed is that, if there's relationships, which I can think of a couple right now, which you're aware of, that I had to let go of over the last couple of years. Um, and I find and there was valid reason for it, but I still find myself wishing that I was still in those relationships because all I remember is the great things in that relationship and the
Yeah.
beautiful people and so on. And then I have to make myself remember, yes, but remember this happened and this happened and this happened to allow me to be okay with the fact that it's no longer there. The
Yeah.
relationship isn't what it was, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's of any
Well,
help.
I think it's interesting because what I'm like, so it's kind of like there's two different, I mean, I'm sure there's a million different scenarios, but there's two different scenarios that come to mind for me. One is a relationship that is no longer and getting sort of peace. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're looking for is peace and, and happiness. Like, right? That's what we're looking for. That's what I'm looking for. And you're looking for in what you just described. So one is like the relationship is no longer, and how do we feel at peace with that? The other is a relationship that still exists, and how do we feel peace with that? And, and with the relationship that it still exists, there's always a decision to be made at some point of like, are you terminating that relationship because it no longer serves you? Sometimes that decision is sort of, well, first of all, sometimes that decision is forced upon you, you know?
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes we have to make that decision. I do feel like I'm in a position of needing to make that decision, but it becomes like when and how that has the least impact, and looking sort of from a higher level at all of the people that get impacted by me making that decision. So it's
Mhm.
like so there's two different possibilities. One is we already have let go, and how do we feel at peace with that? And the other is, how do you decide when and how to let go? And what if you have to stay where you are for a bit? And then how do you feel peace with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously that's really a big one.
I know. And that's probably what I need help with right now.
Well, I think it's still kind of the same in that there has to be a willingness to see the person and the relationship for what it is.
Yeah.
So it's without judging because we don't like to judge. It's not
No,
who
feels
we
awful.
are,
Yeah, it feels
that
awful.
can be a weakness as well. So there's discernment versus judgment. So paying attention to what really is happening in that relationship, like what's really happening, and then how can you step back, not judge it, but maneuver through it, but
Yeah.
accept the fact that it isn't a healthy relationship for you. And
Yeah.
if you really want healthy relationships, then you have to be willing to let it go. And will it be easy? Not necessarily. But if you know in your heart that you're not aligned, but I think you and I are both the same. We keep looking for the goodness in people.
Hmm.
And so, on one hand, that's really nice. But on another hand, then there's times when we really need to see without judging that we're not aligned with that person's behavior and how they do life. So, it
Yeah.
doesn't take away the good, but you can't ignore. I mean, this is really silly, and I don't even know if it is aligned or what we're talking about. But Uwe reminded me the other day of I had two friends that they'd phone me, and I'd be so happy to hear from them. And then all they wanted was my help with something.
Yeah.
And so it like took me for ages to stop getting that natural happy when I
Yeah.
saw it was them.
Yeah.
And then realizing they only wanted something from me. And
Yeah.
so, again, I know this isn't about tools and techniques, but honestly, I really just had to shift. I literally had to shift the submodalities that they weren't still my friends. I
Yeah.
had them coded as my friends,
Yeah.
and they weren't my friends. They were still nice people, and maybe, but they only called me when they wanted something from me. Well, that's up to me to decide that's okay or it's not okay
Yeah.
without judging them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of that's of any help whatsoever, but I think sometimes you have to stay in the relationship. In your case, you may have to stay in a relationship for a while to move through what needs to be taken care of without without forgetting what's really happening, what the person really does, who the person really shows themselves to be able to hold on to that and still interact. And I think that's, I think it takes a lot to be able to do that.
Yeah. Because I don't want my like natural would be if we can get on the other side of this would be to forget all that's just happened and then move forward and then very likely end up in the same situation again in a year or whatever. I don't want to hold on to it and feel resentment, anger, any kind of emotion around it because that doesn't serve me while I'm in it. But
Yeah.
I need to be able to hold on to it to remember that that I was shown. It's like I was shown, certain things, and I've been treated in ways that I don't want to be treated by people. So it's like holding on enough to remember that, but letting go enough to be okay within it.
Right. And so it is about dissociating yourself. It's about
Yeah.
making the decision. This is a decision thing. You really do have to pull it out of the emotional side of things. So you've
Yeah.
gone through the emotional piece, the surprise, the shock, having to
Yeah.
really having to see this. You can't ignore it. But now
Yeah.
you have to remove the emotional side of that. And now you have to maneuver within it. So I think that's about dissociating and rising above it, but not letting go of the reality of letting people
So
show
how
you
would you
who
do
they
that?
are.
So tell me, like, so dissociated I get, and I think that I am like I've really moved over to business. I thought I really did, and I do always care about people, but I really cared and cared about like just cared on a different level, like a friend caring level. I've
Yes.
moved to business. I still want everybody always to be okay and whatever. It's not like malicious, but I think I have shifted into a different whether it's that I've shifted some modalities without knowing it, but I definitely have, changed that piece of it, like how I feel about what the relationship is and what it isn't. I understand dissociated, um, which I feel like I've actually been doing the whole way because I always say I'm going up here and looking down over, over it all. So I feel like I'm doing that naturally. What maybe I don't know how to do, and I would like to transfer this over to like the listeners and how this could potentially apply to them in their lives too, because well, this is supposed to, I was gonna say this isn't the Melanie show, but this is supposed to be the Lynn show. Um, but I do want it to be like useful for other people where they might have relationships that either they have let go of and they want to find the peace like you mentioned, or they do need to stay in it for some reason. I actually just had somebody reach out to me yesterday, I think, just in tears because of, they've separated from their husband, but they have a child. And like, so that's an example of having to stay in a relationship to a certain degree, to co-parent. You can't just walk away and wash your hands, but how do you do that and stay okay within that? Would be a very similar thing to like what I'm, needing to do. So, how do you hold on enough? And you may or may not have the answer to this, so I apologize in advance if you don't. But like, how do you hold on enough to, I'm going to say the bad, like the truth, the reality, the change, because again, if I think of that woman or I think of somebody going through a separation, if you only think of the good, you're going to pine for what was, right? And you're not going to be able to let go. You do have to hold on to the reality of why the separation happened in the first place. Or for me, like, what has created the shift in this. You have to hold on enough to be able to not get, this is a horrible word to say, but it came in, so I'm saying it anyways, and you can correct me. To not get sucked back into this false idea that all is good in it. How do you hold on enough to remember that without holding on and having that harm you?
I mean, I don't, I'll give you an answer, but who knows if it applies to everybody or whatever.
Yeah, nothing's going to apply to everybody,
No,
but
but
hopefully it applies to somebody.
I think that again, this is easier said than done. But I think the challenge is that we aren't willing to see people as who they really are if it doesn't align with us. So it's easier for you to align with the good in people. So there's nobody who's totally good, totally bad, whatever. We're people who are here to grow and evolve and learn and whatever. So I think that the challenge is we have our own way of looking at the world. And when you have a way that's kind and loving and wants to see the best in people, that's really great. And then there's times when that doesn't serve you. We have to be willing. And I think this comes from a higher level. I think it's more from our spiritual development than just personal development, honestly. I think we have to be willing to see people for who they are, not judging it, but no, they've shown me who they are. Now it's my choice. Do I want that person in my life or not? And how much? And so, yes, when you're in a relationship, the relationship ends when there's children and you have to interact. I think it's challenging. There's no way. The thing is, you have to remember who the person really is. It's not moment by moment. We know that, but we want to think that people will change. And I don't know if that's making any sense, but honestly,
Well, one of the things I don't know that it, I don't know that it is. However, I will say, I know that, um, I know that I often want to like, I can't understand when people think I'm awful. And so I want to like try to get them to not think I'm awful. Maybe if I say it this way, maybe if I say it that way, maybe if I, and it never works. Like 0 out of 10. It never works. Yet, you know, I try to retrieve something that isn't retrievable or, and so that's one piece of the equation. And I understand holding on to like they've shown us who they are. I really get that and I need to remember that right now. They've shown me who they are. And again, not specific only to this, like I can think of other things and you can think of that and it's like,
absolutely.
when there's a breakdown in a relationship, I mean, obviously we have to take ownership. This is what I thought of long ago to like
Okay.
for today. It's like, how do we know? I mean, there's always going to be a learning in it for me.
Yeah.
And there's the world is a reflection of you. And so like how do we know when it's about us? How do we know when it's about the other person? And I guess it's always about us and the other person, probably is the answer as I say it out loud. It's like there's going to be learnings for me within myself on choices that I made, decisions that I made, ways that I communicated, like whatever it might be. There's going to be, I have some learning to do around it. I do have this tendency to, when something like this happens, go like my dad, and then Steve, and then this. Like maybe these people are right. I do have a tendency to like see the pattern in my life. And like, do other people have like so many examples of where people think they're not good? You know?
Well, it's how you view it. I mean, it is sincerely how you see it. You can decide. I mean, so with your ex as an example, if we want to be really honest, he showed us who he was when we first met him. I'm sorry, he did. Then he changed. When he was part of our family, it was wonderful because he became like us. And then the day came when he went back. to who he was, who we saw right in the very beginning. It wasn't new.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, so I don't see anything in terms of it being a reflection of you. It's just you're a kind, loving person. You see the good in everybody, and maybe it's time that you step back and not judge, but let people like know that they're here for a different journey. They have
Yeah.
a different path, a different journey.
And I
And
know that and I believe it. Like I believe that in every cell of my body.
accept in the middle of things. It's not easy
Yeah.
at that point because again, so I will just, so I'm sorry, I can't help now because you're really asking me stuff. It's like I hear you say different things that you actually, in your words, and I can't tell you exactly what you've said, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I listen,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. That's what you do.
Yep. You haven't really decided that that behavior of that person is is the behavior. And you actually, in your language and things you say, consider that you might still be able to work with that person. Now, I'm not saying work as in really work, but I hear you thinking that it could be different.
Yes.
That's where we need a session, a private session.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I'm thinking like, so I think this is exactly where the messiness is inside of me because I need to hold on to it enough not to think that, but I also need to let go of it enough to be able to do what I need to do to get to the other side of this.
And you
And I
can.
don't, that's right. And what I don't know is how to do that because when I shift over to kind and loving me, I let go of like, so it is definitely messy for me like to be able to hold on to that and then still as I as like I don't want to say the words that I'm gonna say. And enjoy the experience. Like because I want to enjoy experiences and relationships and I want it to feel good and I want to be, kind and loving and I want all of that. And so, I do like to let go of the rest so that I can just
Mhm.
feel good in what I'm doing. And I'm really good at that, too good at that. And what
What
that
if,
means,
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. What
yeah,
if kind and loving means seeing that person for who they really are and letting them have their journey and see how it affects their life? It's not you.
yeah. I mean, this particular situation, and we probably can't continue like too much
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other people involved, and I can't only consider myself in whether I want this to continue on or not. I just can't. I have a responsibility to a lot of other people and there's money involved in all sorts of different things that if that I feel like I have a responsibility way beyond my inner peace.
Well, then you just do the right thing, which you always do. And
Yeah.
again, that's where if you look at what's your purpose, what are your values, who are
Yeah.
you, they can still be, you can still be you,
Yeah.
but not get sucked in, for lack of a better word, thinking that something is going to change when
Yeah.
it's shown you that it isn't going to
Well,
change.
and the big thing is it could change. It could change surface level, but not like so it could go back to pleasantries, it could go back to whatever, but the truth is that the truth has been shown to me. And
And
so
nothing is going to
no,
change.
because I do know that now I know that can surface at any moment, right?
Right. So that's
Yeah,
your responsibility now.
yeah, yeah. So how can we broaden this to the people who are listening so it isn't just a
Yeah.
Melanie therapy session?
Yeah.
Um, but like really, I mean, relationships are, beautiful and challenging. We're all different. We view the world through, every single experience we've had and shapes how we're the lens through which we're seeing the world. we want every like we think everybody's going to think and be like us when they're really not because they've not lived our life, and sometimes it's going to be a personal relationship, sometimes it's going to be an intimate relationship or a friendship or a business relationship or with your children or whatever. I mean, we have so many different relationships. So how can we summarize something that people can take away with them when they're having a challenging time in a relationship or in letting go? What can we give them that's from my wise, amazing, beautiful mama?
Oh, right. Well, I mean, I think what I will say is sounds too simplistic, but I think it's the truth. It's like being willing to let go of what was before
Yeah,
and being willing to see what is now and move from there.
yeah. And make decisions based on that. I love that because what that does is even when I think of, Steve and whatever is like I feel a ton of gratitude for what we had. Like, and I got my beautiful girls from him and we had so much fun, our families, and I can feel so grateful for that time with him and
Mhm.
have zero desire to have a relationship with him now. Like I can both can be true.
Right. And it depends. So I think, again, it's about letting go of how things were, seeing them for what they are, and then being true to yourself. Like really still being true to yourself, but being willing to see
Yeah.
that we're not aligned anymore. So maybe that's just the way, well, I guess it is the way life is we meet people and we are really connected and it's just lovely. And then we move on,
Yeah.
right? And so some of the movings on are easy and some aren't. Like when I look back on my life, it's like, wow, I spent time with so many amazing people at different times, and I don't see them at all. Some of them I don't even remember their names.
Yeah.
I had just wonderful experiences. And then it was time the relationships were over and,
Yeah.
we move on. Some are more traumatic when they end, and some are just, they just fade away.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be careful that we don't hold on to the past.
Yeah.
We have to look at what it is right now and what do I need to do now? Let me see that person lovingly
Yeah.
for who they really are, because it's their journey, not mine.
Yeah. And we have our own journey in it. So what I think is beautiful is and I think where a lot of pain comes, and this is not me thinking of my situation, this is like,
General.
beyond that now is like, I think that it changes. So we're aligned and then we're not aligned and it changes and people don't stop and actually acknowledge that. And then they live as though it's what it was, even though it isn't anymore. And that creates a ton of pain, right?
Yes.
And just because a relationship ends doesn't mean it erases the beauty that was. Like, it just means that we were aligned. It's that we come together for a season, a reason, or a lifetime kind of idea,
Yes. I
right?
like that. Yes.
Yeah. And so just really, I think a lot of people could have a lot less pain in relationship if they were willing to let go and still be willing to lovingly be grateful for what was, but then
Mhm.
acknowledge what is and then move forward. Like if we could do that in all relationships, we would be living like with so much more peace and ease and all of that. And it doesn't have to be bad and it doesn't mean the other person's even wrong or anything. It just means it's not in alignment with us.
Right. I'm glad this wasn't about you.
I know. It really, really wasn't. No. I mean, doesn't it feel, I mean, I guess you didn't come in feeling heavy, but that just does feel lighter. And that, again, I think of lots of friends that I've had over the years you know, and if I think of midlife awakening, what I want for me and other women moving forward too, it's like you're wanting to live in alignment. You're wanting to do the things that feel good, let go of the things that don't, say yes, all of those things. So this is right in alignment with all of that
And they change. What feels good today may not feel good tomorrow, but I have to be willing,
to notice that.
and
Mhm.
acknowledge it and be okay with it and then figure out from there,
And
well,
then do
what do
something
I
about it.
do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it might be something that can be done right away, and it might be something that needs to be down the road, but regardless, you're making a decision and then you're moving towards that.
That's right.
See, my mommy fixes everything.
All right.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good place to end. Thank you for the therapy session.
We're still going to have a private one.
Okay. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.